Hey everyone, coming up on a big milestone here. My music for my big grant funded project, the recordings that I need to make are now done. Finished the score a while back, got that sent off to the singers. I finished recording all the instrumental parts, and then I dubbed in some kind of fake choir parts that I actually pulled out of the score writing program and managed to get that synced up into the multi-track recording of the instrumentation. So the next thing that has to be done that we're going to be working on next is to put together the complete piece, all the movements lined up as they would be in a performance situation, and then it will be the instruments with the fake voices as a guide track for the singers, and a click track that sets an absolute timing to the music. Then we'll have that same mix will be done without the click track, just so you can hear the piece as it goes together. And then there will be another mix in which it's just the instruments and the click track, and that's the mix that the singers will actually sing to over at Maximus Media for the final recording, when we pull the real voices into the recording and finish it all up. Once that's done, of course, then by that point we are going to have much of the film already edited, because the versions I'm putting together with the fake voices are timed correctly, and so it's functions as a soundtrack that we can use to edit the film and get all of that done. And then by the time the end of May or end of March, when we have the final additional recording sessions done at Maximus, then we can just put and drop the finished recording into the film, and then we've got a wonderful finished product. And then I can tell you more details about the subject matter and all of that kind of stuff. And then we will have samples for you to listen to. As you can see, I've got my more normal setup here. Last time, I think on the video, I had the piano keyboard set up because I was recording the final piano parts, and then I had to record the final organ parts, and so we put the C200 back here, and this is the keyboard that normally resides on my studio setup when I'm doing these recordings. This keyboard is meant to be a single manual organ for like accompanying a small choir. You can add a pedal board to it for bass foot pedals. It does output MIDI, so I can run it into my recording software, and I can play virtual instruments from this. This is just a spring-loaded, what they call a semi-weighted touch. This is very much what an organ keyboard would feel like. So for playing organ sounds, it's very effective. For playing piano sounds, not so much, and that's why I had the other keyboard out here last time to facilitate a better, more accurate piano reproduction, even though I was using a virtual instrument. In the realm of virtual instruments, I have a very good virtual piano software called Pianotech that produces a really excellent sound. In the realm of organs, though, I want to use pipe organ, so if I were using Hammond organ, there's plenty of virtual Hammond organs, but there's really not much in the way of virtual pipe organ available that runs as a VST instrument that can be run inside of a digital audio workstation software. There is one really good one called Hopvert. I use that on my live performance rig to create the pipe organ sounds, but it only functions as a standalone instrument, so it will not function as a virtual instrument inside of a multi-track recording software. So this instrument, which is kind of smallish. It has, though, layers of voices. Each of the stops on this instrument have 4 versions of them. And by switching between the various versions of the stops and doing a certain amount of overdubbing, I can kind of morph this little organ into as big an organ as I want. So for recording, this is really it's an excellent tool, and I enjoy using it. So that's what's going on with the project. Like I say, the next thing will be to put together the accompaniment tracks that the singers will be using for practice and for recording. We have rehearsals the week of the recording session on Saturday, and so we'll be going through that. I will have a pianist with me who will plunk out the choir parts. I could do that myself, but then I can't focus on what the choir is doing and really make sure that they're doing the things that I really need them to do on the recording. I want to be able to pay close attention to that. And I will shoot some video when we get to those rehearsals and to that recording session so that you folks can join in on that. And, last time I kind of talked a little bit about, some of the distinctions we make in our society between the widget maker and the artist. And I'm always amused by those kinds of distinctions that we made. And I really find it fascinating that, especially in my lifetime, my own family has constantly asked me when I was going to get a real job. And of course, I think most of you would probably agree, if you're making a living, you have a real job. If you're taking a professional approach to something and you're getting paid to do it, that's a real job. So I really kind of last night was thinking about this whole real job thing, because nobody ever talks about a fake job. They just imply that your job is fake by saying, when are you going to get a real job? Way back right after my grandfather died, one of my uncles from out of town came in to help us clear out the house and all that kind of thing. And so he approaches me and he says, "What are you doing now?" And at that particular moment, he was at my apartment and I was trying to fix a model train for somebody. And I said, "Well, right now I'm doing some train repairs." And he said, No, what are you doing for a job?" And I said, "Well, I'm still the music director over at the church." And he said, "So are you ever going to get a real job?" And of all of my dad's siblings, he was the last person I expected to hear that particular insult from. Because if you think about that kind of thing really is insulting. It's implying that you're some kind of deadbeat who doesn't have any ambitions to contribute to the world. But I think another really fascinating aspect of these sort of, well, we'll call them social distinctions we make in various areas is that even within the world of music, there are distinctions that kind of imply, good and bad, high and low, and all of those kinds of things. We make that weird distinction between classical music and popular music. And now that I'm getting to be an older person and have seen the various manifestations of that particular idea, my dad was always big on that when I was growing up. And I got taught a lot of interesting falsehoods, like, pop musicians, or they don't know anything, and they don't know how to read music, and they don't know anything about composition, and they've never had any music lessons. And my favorite comment from my dad in that realm is he was explaining some aspect of musical composition to me. And he said, "But you see, these pop musicians, they don't know this stuff. They just make it up." And I thought about that for a moment. I thought, well, at some point, Beethoven had to make up the Ninth Symphony. I mean, it didn't just, it wasn't sort of, pulled off of the farm somewhere, right? It just seemed like a really odd thing to say that, well, they just make stuff up. Well, yeah. And I started thinking this morning about kind of, is there a distinction between a composer and a songwriter? I refer to myself as a composer, and other people, musician friends of mine, refer to themselves as songwriters. And, well, is there any real difference there? And, thinking about that, kind of, yes and no. Typically, a composer is putting down music in the form of a score. We work out all of the various components of the music, from the orchestration to the structure of the piece and all of the various melodies and harmonizations that are going to go into it. A songwriter, on the other hand, tends to be more of a collaborative kind of thing. The songwriter will put down first and foremost the words, and then create a melody and a basic harmonization, and they'll note that down, and most often in some kind of musical shorthand form, and then get together with their musician friends, and then together they kind of create the other elements, what the instrumentation is going to be and how's it going to structurally go together. But at the end of the day, you're creating a musical composition. There's structure to a song, just like there's structure to a piece of classical music. One of the more common song structures is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, chorus. And we hear that all the time. If you listen to most popular songs with that kind of format in mind, you'll hear that. And notice that, okay, yeah, we had a verse, and then we had the repeated part, usually called the chorus, and then we had another verse, and then a chorus, and then there was a different part, right? A contrasting part, which made it a slightly different statement about the story, and then we go back to, and they might embellish and put an instrumental thing there, and then repeat the chorus at the end. In the world of classical music, it's not really any different. One of the more common formulas, if you will, for a classical piece is a rondo, and that is a part, then a B part, then we go back to the A part, and then there's a C part, and then we finish with the A part. And if you've ever listened to the piece Für Elise by Ludwig van Beethoven, that is absolutely a rondo, A, B, A, C, A. My piece, Autumn Colors, which you can just search Tony Imperatrice Autumn Colors on YouTube, and there's a video and a couple of audio recordings of that. Absolutely, A, B, A, C, A. It's a rondo. I very often use that song formula that we just talked about, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, chorus. You could also say A, B, C, B, B, right? And I've used that basic formula many, many times because I like the way the music progresses that way. And it kind of implies a story. So taking that form and putting my melodies and harmonizations to it and fleshing out the instrumentation, then when I give a title to the piece, then people can imagine their own story based on what the title kind of suggests and what the music, the progression of the music is kind of suggesting in there. So again, I think a lot of the stuff I grew up with in terms of the constant denigration of pop songwriters like, you know, the Beatles was really kind of silly. They did some really interesting work. And then to, you know, contrast that by saying all the classical artists were, you know, miles ahead or above or whatever silly thing you want to say about that. At the end of the day, we're all creating music. We're creating art for people to enjoy. And I think sometimes in the classical music world, we forget that music is entertainment. And whether it's what we think of as lofty entertainment or just casual entertainment, well, it's still just entertainment. When we go to a concert, whether we're going to see our buddy's band or a big name star in the music scene, or if we go to a classical music concert and hear some Beethoven, we expect to have a good time, right? So I think, as usual, I think a lot of those little distinctions are kind of silly, and I really don't subscribe to that. At any rate, that's what I was thinking about today. So we'll see you next time.